Hello guys, I hope you all are doing well. I'm Suling and I'm a watercolor artist from Malaysia. What you are watching now is one of the 4 videos in the Watercolor Autumn Leaves series. In this series, you are going to learn how to use techniques such as wet on wet, lifting, and layering to paint the leaves. After watching this video, you can look for the links to the other 3 videos in the description below. If you like what you are watching, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Without further ado, let's dive in. First of all, let's go through the basic supplies that I'm using in this class. You can use whatever that you have access to. I'm using Canson Aquarelle cold pressed paper here. It's weighing at 300 GSM and it's a cellulose paper. You can use other types of watercolor paper as long as they have this paper weight. These are the 4 leaves that we are going to paint. You can download this visual reference from the resource section, and this is the drawing template also in the resource section. You can trace it onto the watercolor paper or feel free to draw from scratch. For tracing, I like to use this light pad. You just have to place the template first and then watercolor paper on top, switch on the light and then start tracing. This light pad is lightweight and helps to get things done faster. Next, we have watercolor from Winsor and Newton. I'm using a mix of the Cotman and Professional series. You can certainly use any watercolor that you have. I will go through the color selection in the next video. As for brushes, I'm using Princeton Heritage watercolor brushes, size 0, 2, and 4. Whichever brand that you are using, just make sure you have them in different sizes from medium to small and fine. Scrap papers to test colors. A ceramic mixing palette. You can also use plastic ones. Paper towels to remove excess water from the brushes. And water to mix watercolor and rinse your brushes. A note on watercolor, you can use either watercolor from tubes or in pen sets. My pen sets here are actually from tubes that I have bought individually over time. The general color palette will be a warm one. I have selected some colors to help us mix up the hues and shades that we need for these autumn leaves. So for this golden yellow oak leaf here, the main colors on the leaf are cadmium yellow hue and yellow ochre. There will also be some browns on the midribs and veins. For the golden brown maple leaf next to it, we will also be using the yellow shades, but we'll add in burnt sienna and Vandyke brown. So we will mix these few colors to get the hues and shades that are close to the reference. Up next for this Japanese maple leaf, the main color will be Alizarin crimson. But as you can see here, we will also be using some yellow for the base. The final leaf is also a Japanese maple leaf, but brighter in color. I have selected Scarlet Lake and Cadmium orange hue as the main colors. I will add some yellow if necessary. And lastly, I will include a Payne's gray, which is mainly to help us create a darker shade of colors, such as a darker red or darker brown. So these are the only 8 colors that we need for this project. If you don't have the exact colors, you can replace with any similar colors that you have. So this is the drawing that I have traced onto my watercolor paper. With this composition, you can actually paint and later frame it in whichever orientation that you like. It can be horizontal or portrait. I'm going to have the yellow leaves on top. But first, I'll stick a paper here to protect the section at the bottom from any accidental watercolor splashes. Next, let's do a color swatch. This is cadmium yellow hue. And this is yellow ochre. Burnt sienna. Vandyke brown. If I need a darker brown, I will add some Payne's gray So these are the colors for this maple leaf. For this leaf, you are going to use mainly the wet on wet technique. And I'm going to start by laying down this yellow shade, which is a mix of cadmium yellow hue and yellow ochre. I'm going to do this section by section so that I have time to apply another color on top while the surface is still wet. To apply the wet on wet technique, you have to ensure that the paper surface doesn't become dry before the second color is applied. And now I'm picking up some burnt sienna and drop it onto the still wet yellow surface and let it spread on its own. So you will look at the reference photo and see where this color should be applied and just follow. If you feel that the brush is overloaded, just lightly dab on the paper towel to get rid of excess paint. The next color that I'm going to apply is Vandyke brown. So carefully drop in the paint along the edges. Next, I'm dropping in again burnt sienna on top of Vandyke brown because I want to kind of create a gradual transition from a darker brown to a golden brown. So this is the basic process that you are going to repeat for the entire leaf. So I'm going to show you the process one more time. You can go ahead to complete the entire leaf, and I will see you in the next video. After you have completed painting the leaf and it is already dry, you can continue to paint the stem and veins. So I'm using Vandyke brown mixed with a bit of Payne's gray for the stem. And don't forget to change to a small or fine brush for this. You can add in some yellow mix here. And add in more brown if necessary. Moving on to the veins. Here I'm using a darker brown by mixing a bit of Payne's Grey to Vandyke brown. Now I want to add the dark spots here. I first wet this small area with a damp brush. And then I add some dark brown here. Guess I didn't wet the surface enough, so it's now dry and the paint didn't actually spread as I expected to. But it is okay. I'm going to soften it up with a damp brush and then keep adding paint little by little. Finally, you can clean or tidy up the leaf edges. Or make the tip more pointy. And our golden brown maple leaf is done.